After watching the Mario Galaxy movie and seeing all the airships and other stuff, it got me thinking, what might the big boss creeper's military budget be? Now, while I obviously can't account for things like magic and bringing guys back from the dead, what I can give you is a solid estimation on what the big guy's army expenses are. First up, Koopa salary. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was a tough one, but with a quick search of the help of the interwebs, I found that the alligator snapping turtle is most like that of a Koopster. Now it's going to run you about 240 to 600 smackaroons to raise one of these things. Now, I know what you're thinking.
That's a lot smaller than I thought.
I mean, Bowser's a king, right? So it only makes sense that he would want an absolute shad of a turtle to spend his moolah on. Let me get there. The Koopa Troopa measures at about 4 feet or 1.2 meters, while the turtle averages around 26 to 30 inches or 66 to 76 centimeters, and weighs in at about 155 to 75 pounds, or 70 to 79 kilograms. So let's say that the turtle is 27.5 inches long and with the Koopa at a solid 48 inches. This means that the Koopa is approximately 1.7 times the length of the turtle, and with the turtle weighing in average 160 pounds or 72.57477792 kilograms, since the turtle is 27.5 inches long, this means that he's 5.82 pounds per inch or 1.04 kilograms per centimeter. Using this awful math, the Koopa is 279 pounds or 124.8 kilograms. And since you gotta feed these little suckers 1 to 3% of their body weight, you'll be feeding a little Koopa around 8.37 pounds or 3.8 kilograms of that sweet, juicy protein. And at $5 a pound, that's $41.50 per Koopa, but Bowser has an army. So 100,000 Koopas times $41.50 is gonna equal 4.15 million per 100,000 Koopertinos. Well, there you have it. Airships. Bowser's airships best match that of a galleon, which, according to Kittle, costs about 78,000 pesos, and accounting for inflation, that would be about 100,000 clams in today's money. But these airships are also in the air, so what would it take to lift them? The larger galleons are going to weigh in at about 1,200 tons, but we're going to raise that to 1,500 to account for all the Koopas and all the other stuff. So the strongest helicopter is the Me-26, but we need to get at least 60 of these to even get the lighter airships into the sky. So we're going to need to pull some Hindenburg magic. Speaking of which, the actual Hindenburg could lift somewhat 255.5 tons, so we're going to need 6 of these for this to be worth any effort. And at 57 million per berg, our total should be 342 million Dolly Partons per airship. But again, army, so $342 million times 100,000 ships, with 1,000 Koopa per ship, that's going to be about 34.2 trillion social lubricants. Now, what's it going to cost to feed all them crew members? So at 41,500 per airship, and 1,000 Koopa times 100,000 ships, which is 100 million Koopa, that'll run the big guy 4.15 million dead presidents per ship. And there you go. 3. Ammunition. Now, I'm lazy, so at the 9-minute mark of Game Theory's How Deadly is a Bullet Bill video, it is found that a bill weighs about 1 ton, and according to Trading Economics, at the exact moment I'm making this video, the price for a ton of iron is about $106.27 compensation beans. So with that, now we just gotta figure out what it exactly takes to make these things go boom. How will we do that, you ask? Well, throughout human history, there have been many different types of cannons, all ranging in their very own shapes and sizes, some even borderlining the edge of absurdity. But the biggest, the largest of them all, and my personal favorite, Robert Mallet's 36-inch mortar, while never actually being used in battle, probably because it cost 4,300 pounds, which is $215,000 for my fellow bare-armed folk out there. And yes, British people, that is an actual thing that we have that you don't. So, designed by Robert Mallet in the 1850s, which, time out real quick, look at that mustache. I mean, just, that thing deserves a world record of its own. Anyway, designed in the 1850s for the Crimean War, this big behemoth could fire over 2,000 pounds. That's almost as much as your mom. Is that humor still relevant? So to fire effectively, this big guy required about 480 pounds or 217.7 kilograms, or 28 Batmans, which was a real unit of measurement used in the Ottoman Empire before it got replaced by all the feet and other boring stuff. Anyway, so 1 pound of quality gunpowder will run you about 50 frog skins, bringing this total to 24,000 washing machines. Now, during my findings, I found that the average bullet bill fires roughly every 3 to 4 seconds, which means that this guy right here is spending $360,000 a minute and $21.6 million an hour. So clearly this guy's loaded if you haven't figured that out already. But now we need to fit this onto this. So 342 million plus 215,000 per cannon is about 343,290,000, and the reason that number is different than what you quick-thinking people thought, if you looky here, you see that there are 6 cannons on an airship. There you have that. 4. Fuel. Okay, so again, the actual Hindenburg used about 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen fuel, which is the same as about 80 Olympic swimming pools. So from what I could find, in 1937, 1,000 cubic feet of hydrogen cost the same as 6 Washingtons in modern money, so at 7 million cubic feet, that is... $42,000. Oh, you thought it was going to be worth it, didn't you? I say again, Army. So, if each airship already cost 343,290,000 lettuce wraps, then with the hydrogen added in that cost, it is now at 343,332,000 precious green beans per airship. 5.
Space. So, I met an alien.
Space. Simultaneously the most beautiful and also terrifying thing ever, and we know nothing about it. So how the does a turtle get there? Well, in the Great Odyssey, it takes Mario 0.36 seconds to fall 4.5 meters, so using that, the gravity in the Mushroom Kingdom is... It's almost 70 meters per second. And for comparison, the Big Jupe's gravity is 24.79 meters per second, or 1,101.5873 times Pluto's gravity, just to let you know. So, assuming that the relationship between everything is kind of the same, since Earth gravity is 9.81 meters per second and the escape velocity is 11.2 kilometers per second, now there's an equation here, and it's 69.4 divided by 9.8, and with that we figure out that answer is approximately 79.2 kilometers per second. So after all of this, we can finally figure out that the force needed to leave this planet is 104 million newtons. But since this guy is pure evil, we can only assume that he uses nuclear thermal rockets. Now, apparently getting a 1,500-ton ship into space is not easy. You basically have to turn every ship into a nuclear-powered war machine. Even with the thermal rocket, which is far more powerful than that of its chemical counterpart, even in the best possible scenario, you would need a mass ratio of about 6,600 to 1. Therefore, a 1,500-ton airship, you shall need 9.9 million tons of total launch mass, with most of that being fuel. And that's with every single thing going over perfecto. Alrighty then. Since liquid hydrogen costs $6 per kilogram, and we need 9.9 million tons of it, which is the same as about 9.9 billion kilograms, we need a whopping 60 billion cheese wheels. Now this is the part we get to go over the other stuff. So the NASA Space Launch System could pull about 95 metric tons. That is more than enough for a blue whale. So now we just need to figure out how many rockets it would take to get an airship into the great big void. And yes, there is a way we can do it. I'm never finishing this video. All that meant was just simply 104.7 tons. So now, all we have to do is divide the weight of the airship by that to figure out how much we need to get one into space, which is 15! The reason that's so much is because the $27 billion to build a rocket, and then the $4 billion to launch it is totaling $31 billion, and then times the 15 rockets needed to launch is $465 billion just to launch one airship. But now, ladies and gents, I must say once again, say that legendary word that you have come to associate with this very video. Army. So, 465 billion per ship times, let's say 10,000 ships, is a gobstompering, jaw-dropping, flabbergasting high price of 4.65 quadrillion. Now that is more money than there is in the entire world multiple times over. Well, lads, we made it. We made it to the end. I still remember all those long weeks editing into the wee hours of the morning, working hard to bring you the answer that you wanted to the best of my ability. And hey, if you made it this far, you might as well have come along the journey with me. Only to realize that most of this math is probably wrong and shouldn't be taken into accountability. But hey, that's just the way the banana peels. Am I right or am I right? Now, you came here for one thing, and I'm gonna give it to you. So $763,762,500 per 100,000 Koopa per year, plus $34,333,200,000,000 per 100,000 airships, plus $460,500,000,000,000 per 100,000 spaceships makes the grand total for Bowser's military budget $46,500,000,035,096,962,500 American dollars. And there you have it. We have successfully found Bowser's annual military budget. Please subscribe. Please, for the love of God, subscribe. I worked so hard on this. I hope you enjoyed, and good night.